And then, look at the very next event. How did we get chapter divisions in our Bibles? Do you guys ever think about that? Did you know they didn't come with the Bible? The chapter divisions, neither did the verses. It was like paper towel, and every word was written right next to each other. Two events took place. In the 12th century, Bishop Langton, who was the Archbishop of Canterbury in England, who wrote out the words of the Magna Carta. You ever heard of that? The Great Charter, the basis of Western civilization that's part of English history. The same guy was the Archbishop of Canterbury of the Church of England, and he took it upon himself while he was riding his horse. He was a visiting pastor all over the British Isles, and while he was visiting his parishioners, he took the manuscripts of the Bible and personally drew a line in them and divided the Bible into 1,189 chapters. Guess what? You ever read a chapter where it kind of keeps going and the next one you wonder, that should be up there. Many chapters are like that in the Bible where it's like they're cut in half. Do you know what happened? He was on his horse and the horse stumbled and he went like that and I can't undo it. And there are a lot of those, but they're not inspired. Every time I hear people that say, did you notice prophetically all the 3:16s in the Bible? John 3:16, but Malachi 3:16. And they talk about as if God did that. Well, he did, because he ordains all things, but you know what I mean. That was, the chapter divisions were done by Langton, and do you know how the verses came in? A printer. His name was Robert Estienne. He was from Switzerland and, you know, the whole Geneva thing with Calvin, and he was a printer in France, and he was working, Robert Estienne was working on printing the Bible, and he says, in order to make all these copies right, I've got to number little sections. And he did the same thing. He just drew a line. And a lot of verses are cut from the one, you know, they're not really separate thoughts. But that's how we got it all. But look, without the artificial chapter cut, what exactly flows from every creature in heaven and earth worshiping the Lamb of God? What's the very next thing? Right here. Revelation portrays one long, unbroken event. Now I saw, when the Lamb opened one of the seals. Now we've got this paper towel roll in Jesus' hands. And now we're seeing what it is. It's actually launching all of the horrors of the tribulation. And it's a part of the worship service. Do you know what a lot of people do? They kind of feel embarrassed that God's going to kill everybody in the tribulation. A lot of people say, is that really nice? He starves them all, burns them up with the sun, sends these horrible diseases that kills them. Is that really nice? It's a reflection of his attribute of wrath. One of the eternal qualities of God is he is wrathful and loving, merciful and jealous. You understand what I mean? He's all these things at once. So what happens? See, it's continuing. It's like a movie. I saw, and when he opened one of the seals, I heard one of the living creatures saying with a voice like thunder, come and see. And so John's getting into it. He says, I looked, and behold, a white horse. And he who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him. And he went out conquering and to conquer. And now verse 3, when he opened the second seal, the second creature said, come and see. So do you understand the book of Revelation is letting us get a little glimpse of what God sees. Now, we've been told in the book of Isaiah that God sees the end from the beginning at the same time. Now, you guys, some of you think for a minute. God at the same time can see the ending of everything on earth and the universe burning and everything, and he sees him making it all, and everything that happened in between is like flat. It's like a constant movie playing there, and God is watching all of it at once. Now, let's apply that. Guess what? John is not seeing what is going to happen in Revelation. He actually is seeing it happen. You say, it hasn't happened yet. From your perspective, it hasn't happened yet. But if you get up here in heaven and look over the edge of heaven, you will see God creating the universe in 6 days and resting the seventh, and you'll see Adam and Eve, and then you'll see the serpent coming in and messing them up, and then you'll see, oh, there's the flood. Oh, look, God sees all of it happening at the same time. Do you understand that? That's why we're not God. I can't even comprehend that. John is allowed to look into scenes as they're happening that from his perspective have already happened or have not yet happened. That's what the perspective of Revelation, that's why it's so hard. Did you know Revelation keeps flipping between those two things? Sometimes you're up there with God looking at stuff that is going to happen, but it's happening right now. And other times you're down on earth and seeing the hailstones crushing people. But then the third seal, look at verse 5. When he opened the third seal, a living creature said, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand, and I heard a voice saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius." You know what that means? A denarius was a whole day's work. Do you know how much a quart of wheat is? By the time you thresh it, it's not very much. And so what it means is you spend a whole day and you barely get enough grain to survive. It's amazing. This speaking of the starvation. And don't harm the oil and the wine. Wait a minute. What's that? Side by side in the tribulation, the rich people are still going to be rich and still have all their oil and wine, and the poor people are going to be barely making it, starving. Then look at verse 7. When he opened the fourth seal, I heard a creature saying, "Come and see." Well, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? You've heard that? There they are. Look at Revelation 6, 7, and 8. And what we see in chapter 6 is, the four horsemen, the white one conquering, the red one, which is wars and murders, the black one, which is famine, and that green one. Green, it's the Greek word chloros. You ever heard of chlorine? Your new pool. Is it over there? The new pool has this horrible, unless it's salt water. I don't know anything about your pool, but if it's a normal pool, it has chlorine, killing all the nasty bugs that get in it. What is chlorine? It's a deadly gas that you can make powder form and liquid form, like Clorox. It's a color, actually. Chloros is the color. And it's the color of gangrene. You know what gangrene is? When human flesh dies, it gets necrotic. As it breaks down, it turns a greenish, horrible, sickly, makes you sick color and smell. That's what color this horse is. And God unleashes that. And look what this horse does. He brings, we'll see, I'll read it to you in a minute, 1/4 of all people die. Unbelievable. And then the martyrs, and then the cosmic changes. Then we go into chapter 7 and 8, and I don't want to get into that now.